What's going on, everyone? So, something that I get regularly in comments and all kinds of stuff is, a Ghostface on Ghostface battle, right? A lot of people really want to see Ghostface versus Ghostface in just a showdown, right? And we've gotten like technically Ghostface versus Ghostface, right? Like, I mean, you could even go back to like when Sydney put on the Ghostface costume, right? I mean, Sam obviously has put it on. You have Detective Bailey versus, Greg and took out Jason, but it wasn't like, like a versus, right? It wasn't like one ghost face fighting off another ghost face in costume, knives in hand, just toe to toe. Right? Like that is something that would be a lot of fun and something that, could be really cool to see. And, I've seen people like throw out the idea, like, what about two ghost face working independently? Right now, problem with that in like a small town, right, is that there's only so many targets, right? Like, in New York, sure, right? In New York, I mean, again, you could have multiple Ghostface. I mean, you could have dozens of Ghostface, right? All running around taking people out, and then two just have an encounter. But like, you got to think, like, let's say it's a small town with a 1,000 people or whatever. There's only so many targets. There's only so many people, especially in a high school that only has like 200 kids in the class or whatever, right? Like, it's like, okay, well, there's only so many. Eventually, you're both gonna target the same person, or you're both gonna target each other, type thing, because you don't know that he's Ghostface, he doesn't know that you're Ghostface, right? Like, so again, it's just it makes it tough if it's a small town. So the only ways that I really see it working is A, you do it where it's in a big city, but Scream 7 isn't that. Or C, you have multiple Ghostface from different areas, right? So, for example, what we see in the trailer, right? You have Ghostface in Woodsboro. They have to be in Woodsboro because they're burning down Stu's house, unless it isn't, it's like a stab thing or something like that, which I threw out that idea. But like, if there is a Ghostface in Woodsboro lighting everything on fire, that's now going to go track down Sydney, maybe follows Gail and everybody into town, right? Like, and then there's a ghost face that just happens to pop up in Fallbrook. Well, then now you could end up having a ghost face versus ghost face, right? Because now it's like, okay, yeah, they have the same targets, but like at some point you could have something where, almost like the other thing too, you got to keep in mind is it would be very scary movie, right? Like, because remember, in the original Scary Movie, Bobby and Ray were copying Doofy, right? They even said, it's brilliant because, there's the killer already exists. We're just copying the killer, right? Like, and so, that's something you got to keep in mind too, is that you're kind of playing into like the parody side of things, but I think we're far enough removed. I think people just, it'd be fun to watch. Obviously, again, execution, delivery is everything, but you could have something where, a ghost face from Woodsboro ends up coming and tracking down Sydney, and then you have a ghost face that is after Sydney and the kids, and then boom, there you go, type thing, right? Like, perfect, full circle, all of that, life's good, and now you can have ghost face versus ghost face. Another way that you could do this, and I've talked about, is, if you went like the Stu element, right? Like, so say you had Stu Macher back. I've talked about like the reformed idea. Like, what if you had Stu Macher pick up the Ghostface mantle, not to kill Sydney, but to maybe protect her? Maybe he's a target. Maybe he's a victim. And, and so he has to pick up the Ghostface guys again to try to take out Ghost. And you get like an awesome Ghostface versus Ghostface. Like Sydney's probably not putting on the Ghostface costume. Sydney's probably not, putting it on in the sense of like, hey, I'm going to go hand to hand against another Ghostface, right? Like, so you'd have to do it to where it would make sense. Now, could you do something again where you have multiple characters in a small town working independent? Like, sure. But again, it's tough to explain with a small town. Like, and not just that, if two Ghostface were working together, then like you could, if you wanted to, like kind of, again, thinking this through, you could have something where, let's say it's, two Ghostface, whatever. Pick your two favorite characters, right? That you want to be Ghostface. right? What if we always see Ghostface turn on each other, right? I mean, more often than not, they usually will turn on each other. Obviously, the Scream 5 and 6, we didn't really see that, but, in the past, Ghostfaces usually turn on each other, right? You could do something where, what if you have two Ghostface that they have kind of different conflicting motives, they have different conflicting ideas, and they turn on each other, right? And they end up, you have this kind of like Ghostface versus Ghostface showdown where, winner takes all. One of us is walking out, one of us isn't, type thing. And you could do something kind of cool with that, right? Like where, what if Ghostface thinks everybody's dead? Right? And so now they both turn on each other, and then there's only one left, and then Sidney or Tatum kills the other, like right, before it ends, type thing, right? Like both Ghostface think like, all right, we did it, everyone's dead, type thing, and then they just start arguing and fighting, and then you have like this Ghostface versus Ghostface thing, and that's how you get the unmasking, right? Maybe, they kill one and take the mask off, and it's like, it's McKenna Grace, right? Just using her name as an example, primarily because she's wearing a blue plaid skirt, and but you could do something like that, and then like I said, Tara, Sam and Tara, God, Tatum, there we go, God, Tatum and Sidney, there we go. They could, these S's and T's, right? S's and T's, but Sidney and Tatum could then take out Ghostface and then do the unmasking. Like, what if you did something like that where, the Ghostface reveal isn't them taking off the mask? I know a lot of people really like that, but if you got this kind of cool Ghostface versus Ghostface showdown, that could be a way to kind of go about it. Personally, it's not something that like it would be cool, sure, but like it's not something that like I'm like, oh, we have to have this, right? We have to have a ghost. Like I'm okay with them kind of keeping it. Like it would be cool, kind of have like a cool choreographed fight scene, where you have a ghost face. Like I said, I think the best way to go about it, if you're going to do it, is have a ghost face in Fallbrook. That's the one that you see, come down the attic or whatever of Sydney's house, and then another ghost face in Woodsboro that's making their way to Fallbrook, and then in the end, like you have the two ghost face show up, and it's like kind of the Spider-Man meme, like wait, what, like type thing. But also the other thing too, you got to keep in mind is that, and I think this is important to bring up also, is like if you're Ghostface and I'm Ghostface, right? You're gonna eventually know that I exist, because I'm gonna start taking people out, and you're gonna be like, well, I didn't kill that person, so it couldn't have been me. So that means there's somebody else going around taking people out, so that's another thing. So then do you track down the ghost? Like it's just, there's a lot of things, there's a lot of factors that you got to look into when you're talking about this. Again, anything can work with good storytelling, good execution, good delivery. It just, again, depends on how they approach it. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I question you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. What do you think? If you want your thoughts. Do you like the idea of a Ghostface on Ghostface? Do you think like, yes, we have to have, two Ghostface showdown, two Ghostface taking on each other? Like what kind of idea or theory do you like? Would you go the, just two in the town, two partners eventually turning on each other, one in Woodsboro that makes their way to Fallbrook, one in Fallbrook, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are. I love to hear it out of the way, so let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. Helps me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.